Hey, hey, we are having a super sexy special guest today. Aisha Ophelia. She'll be jumping on in any minute. I want to talk about dating and mating and relating in these times. I want to have a conversation about wholeness and the new earth. And here is Aisha Ophelia. Okay. Mm-hmm. 10, 9, 8, 7. Here she is.
Hi.
Hello. Good morning.
Good to see you.
Where are you in the world? Are you in Nashville?
I'm about 2 hours outside of Nashville in a little town called Chattanooga. There's usually a song people sing back to me when I tell them I'm from Chattanooga.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
Tennessee.
Nice. Um, did you dream last night, and did you have thoughts this morning about what you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I dreamt last night. It was about people skydiving. There were some men skydiving and they had small babies on them. And I was really worried about the babies, but also in a big hurry. I didn't know why.
Mm,
Maybe it's because I'm going to be here with you today. Who knows? But that was my dream. And I really just woke up feeling like talking about the barriers that we put in the way of love and in the way of wholeness, maybe.
mm-hmm, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons. So for everybody listening, like Aisha and I are Instagram friends, and I could see this pattern. Like I started to get to know who you were from what you were posting. I could see this pattern of like people sort of afar. I'd post the philosopher, and like you would like be posting the
Mm-hmm.
same thing as the philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is like kin. And I was really interested in, I want to hear more from you about a new earth. You
Mm-hmm.
think a new earth is, and like how we get there.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about fun stuff like dating, all in the context of like this is about us becoming more whole. And
Yeah. Yeah.
my message today, I sat this morning, and I want to know about your spiritual practice. I sit most mornings, and my message was just like wholeness, just be in wholeness. And that's a simple it's almost a deceptively simple message, because in order to be whole, you have to pull in all your fragmented parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have to see,
Yeah.
you have to know you have them, you have to see them, and by pulling them in, it means you have to love things that you've been trying to get out of your life for a long time, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I very much echo that sentiment, and I'll start with the new earth because it's something that I've been saying, and so it's something that I've been really trying to figure out like what that is and what that means. And over the course of the last month, I really feel like I've realized that the new earth is literally me. It's my body.
Mhm.
It's the practices that I have. It's the compassion that I bring, and through that, what is birthed is going to be all these ideals that are being thrown around, and we're talking about how do we get there? How do we get there? What do we do? And for me, it's really seeing your body as sacred, who you are as sacred, and moving from that space. And so it's really created a shift in the way I think about love. We're going to talk about that. The way I move day to day. It's taken a lot of the pressure of the weight of the world off. Do you have that too? I
Mhm.
mean, it's like watching all this stuff happen and wondering how to help and how to affect it. And it's really brought it like home for me. It's all about home right now. Everything is like nourishing practices of home. So I think like in a nutshell, that's the new earth. That's how we really affect the outside, is by coming back home to ourselves and treating ourselves the way that we'd like to see the world being treated, and then and whatever that births is the new earth.
Mhm. Can you say more about the weight of the world off your shoulders now? Like, what was it? What's the
Mm.
before and after with the weight of the world?
Well, and it's the weight of the world. It's the weight of the conditioning of where you were brought up. It's the weight of your family. And over the course of the last month, I'm big about moon cycles. I'm like seeing what's up for me. And I think that's how I trend with people. I'm like, okay, what are they going through? I talk to my sisters who were like, I haven't talked to you in 6 months, and we're digging around with the same sort of stuff. So over the course of the last month, I've realized that my posture has become a real big issue, like alignment. I'm like, okay, where am I out of alignment? There's this pain, what's going on? And so through through pain has birthed this whole new conversation with me, this whole new way of being with myself. And I've been like high-fiving all the posts you put up about pain, because I'm like, wow, the pain that I've been experiencing over the last month, like a physical pain, has
Mm-hmm.
really showed me about the weight of carrying stories that aren't mine, of, about the weight of things that were my mother's, quite frankly, So I've been, yeah, just deeply in that question, and seeing what that is for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's what's been going on with your knee.
Yeah, it's actually not a knee thing. It's like, now I see my body as like just a series of like pulleys and ropes and 90-degree angles. I mean, and amazing, of course, like even just the eye. But yeah, it's really shoulders and hip that's affected my knee, which alignment. I'm obsessed with posture right now, and I'm aware of myself when I'm looking at my phone. I'm just aware of how I'm holding myself, or even if I'm putting myself into positions with people that aren't natural to me. That's part of alignment too. And so I'm getting right with myself. We talked about those fragments. It's just calling them all back home, even, the most unloved. um I don't know. Yeah, it's super humbling pain, I'll say that.
Super humbling. Yeah,
Yeah.
my lesson has been like about acceptance. I've been thinking about acceptance, and I've been thinking about wholeness. And symbols work, right? You need visual metaphors and all of that. And then there's the actual energy, so working with the heart center. And I've identified like 5, 6, 7 characters
Mm.
that I do not want to let in.
Mm.
They need to
Wow.
be let in. And one is like, it's and all of my judgments about those characters. It's like there's my inner child, and sometimes I don't want to. I'm busy.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then I have a kind of a witchy character called Natasha, and she's just fucking nuts. And she just always on the, just about to go off the deep end. And then I have this really heavy monk who wears a hair shirt and beats himself.
Yeah.
And then I have like a part of me is just like paranoid, a paranoia of crucifixion.
Mm.
And I have to bring all of them in, all of
Yeah,
them in. Yeah. And that changes everything.
it
And it has
does.
to happen daily.
I love how you've put such a name and I try to name it too and do that. And actually, I want to hang out with I want to hang out with Natasha in
Yeah.
particular. I feel like we've all kind of got a Natasha, and I've really been practicing just loving I used to shun the part of myself that was so, maybe this relates to mating and dating and relating, but I tend to be obsessive. Like I'm either like into it or like, and it's all I could think about. I'm hungry for it. I want more, or I just kind of don't care. And I was like, what is that part of me? Go away. I want to be as cool mannered as people maybe think I am. But we all have a Natasha.
Yeah. And she wants in.
Uh-huh.
And also my experience is when I let those different fragmented parts in, sometimes they get even more activated. Like say the Natasha character, she can just like scream and go even kookier.
Mm-hmm.
And then some days she just sits and chills.
Yeah.
And some days she's like her transformed self. She's
Mm.
brushed her hair. She's the wounded healer. She's like, oh, because she shows up for group therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah, and all of that happens through the invitation and love of those unlovable spaces. Because you're
mhm,
right, they don't always come in and respect the house that Danielle's built. Sometimes they come in and they have a stinking attitude, or they're like the angsty teen.
mhm.
I have a really angsty teenager inside of me, and that's just okay. And we have specific conversations, so I feel that. I feel it.
Mm, mm. Um, I've been asking everybody I can. Like, I'm packing up my house and I'm moving right now. I'm even asking like strangers. Do you have what's your relationship to hope? What do you think about where things are going?
I am extremely optimistic. That's something that I feel pretty unwavering on, even when I'm like in the anger and fear and down the rabbit holes. I always come back, and lately I've just been calling it composting. If I'm going to turn something over and over again in my mind, then I have to come back with a jewel, or I'm not done. I have to like stay with myself. And so Yeah, I mean, I feel really optimistic that this wobble, this chaos, all of this density is birthing something that we really want to see happen. And if we can stay the course with ourselves and with people that we love and not turn and really not forget about hope, then I think we'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty constant for me. It's like what I go home to.
You go home to hope.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, yeah, what do we do without that? Where would the planet even be? I think a lot about like what holds the planet in a vibration to even be doing this work. And I think a lot about the love of animals. I see a lot of people who don't have relationships with anyone else, but I watch their relationship with their animal and I'm like, whoa, like that's unconditional love. That's holding a really specific vibration. So I think hope matters. And, you know, even just like holding the idea of it makes it possible for us to continue to do this work.
Mm-hmm. 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 Hope is the higher vibration.
Yeah.
Hmm. Talk to me about how you show up in, because I see a lot of your opinions are counter to the narrative. Yeah. Might be why I'm talking. And how do you show up in spaces that are like, they're meant to divide, they're designed for polarization? Do you
Yeah.
go there?
Well, I consider myself a bridge, and that's the work I've been doing way before it got so hot in the kitchen. I feel like I've always been presenting these little gems like around mindset. That's just always been, I don't know, a thing with my family or with me personally. So it feels like I kind of like laid the framework to where people weren't so shocked about some of the things that I was saying or questioning. Definitely got a little pushback. Um, but oh, I lost my train of thought.
Well, what I can tell from your style is exactly that. You put out mindset content and people can draw their own conclusions. You're
Yeah.
not yelling.
Mm-mm.
You're not like taking the 2x4 of like, this is what I think, and what I think is high vibe, and I wish you would come on board with high vibe. You just like look at what they think. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's all there. I do like to, you know, I don't want to alienate anyone. I was thinking about actually you in this conversation, and I was like admitting to myself that I like to feel cool. Like, oh, I like being cool, but not at the expense of others and not at the expense of like excluding anyone. And so I think when we're talking about things that can be so, our mindset can be so set on it, I like to just kind of pull back and present something that feels like a bird's eye view. So there's spaciousness around it. It's like, huh, well, that's interesting. I can form my own opinions around it. I don't ever want to be like a person who's a leader type who thinks that my way is the right way, because
Mhm.
then I would be doing what I want done to me, which is just pigeonholing me by something. So yeah, I've tried to create a space of spaciousness around questioning all kinds of narratives.
What's your relationship with the news?
Non-existent. I mean, I see what's happening because I'm on social media. The only time I see or hear the news, I'm at my dad's house, and it just feels like it's a frequency that I don't want to deal with. But it doesn't mean that I'm checked out or I'm not compassionate. It just means that I really choose how and when it comes and how I want to digest it. And I do a lot of offsetting. Like I'm in a new house, and it's a house from the 1940s. And the guy who comes and like does the pest control or whatever, he's like, I've never seen a house with so much messaging in it. There's just like something everywhere. He's like always like, what's new? And I'm like, I was thinking about that. And I was like, as soon as I leave my house and my door, there's a million frequencies coming at me. And I can almost guarantee you that 99.9 of them are like, you need us for this thing. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. Put this on. So when I'm in my space, it really matters to me. And I'm like, I want to be a mouthpiece that really offsets all of the other stuff. You know, there's enough of that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There's enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never identified, not until the last year or so. I never liked the phrase, I'm going to stay in my lane. It felt like really oppressive and suppressive.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, mm-mm. Stay in my lane means go deeper and just really speak from what I know, what I believe. It's like it's more essential than ever to just talk about what's working in my life,
Uh-huh.
and then to just leave football fields of room for mystery. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
see some people who, putting out what I think is misinformation with the best of intentions.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and we just don't know. It's like smoke and mirrors right now on the planet.
It so is.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that question. I actually texted my friends, two of my friends yesterday, and I was like, what are some old like idioms or things like that that you used to think or weren't good, but you do again? And the one that I came back to, it's not perfect, it needs a makeover a little bit, but it's no pain no gain. I was just
Mhm.
like, no, that's just totally not true, it's bull crap. But then when I think about even like resistance that comes up in pleasure, like there is something that has to be pushed through to get to the other side. And
Mhm.
especially as I've been endeavoring to, I've been in the ether for like half my life, and now I'm coming back to earth and being like, oh, this is how a body works. This is how you interact. This is how you date. I've always been just in my little world, and now I feel like I'm out in the world. Anyway, just learning all this stuff, and that was the one that it needs a makeover, but I do believe there's something about the
Well, I
no
think I,
pain,
I
no
think the
gain.
evolution of no pain, no gain is no mud, no lotus.
Yes, that
That's it. 'Cause,
that
it's like at least with that, and it's so much more feminine. At least with the muck, it's fertile and it's connected to
yes,
the mother. And the lotus, the seven-pointed lotus. I mean, each petal has some representation of virtue in Buddhist terminology. So yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
That is the
I,
makeover.
and
That's the
also, I think it's easier to feel that you can love the mud. Who doesn't, want to get mucky and dirty and get
that's
in
true.
there?
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that a lot.
Okay, I want to talk to you about plant medicine
Okay.
because I think we have different lifestyles around it, but we meet in the middle. So
Mm.
tell me what your relationship is with the plants.
The plants have always been an aid and an ally. And I was very kind of square for the first part of my life. And so being called into the path, and I really feel like I was called, Danielle, because I actually remember reading Sting's autobiography, and I remember reading a scene in there where he did ayahuasca. And I was like, maybe 18, I don't know. I didn't know what it was or when it was going to happen, but I like bookmarked this as just a deep knowing. And then, as I've gone to workshops and talked to people, and didn't even experience cannabis till I was 33. So I just feel like I have such a different relationship with anything that's mind altering. Everyone's like, oh, I've quit. No, 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 it's not for me. And I'm like, I'm just beginning. Like, I want to talk about it. And so, yeah, I got invited into a circle, and it really was so life changing for me. It's been so puzzling to me, especially in the plant medicine community, where we're doing something that is not sanctioned by the law, right? But we believe that there's an intelligence there, and so we're breaking the rules to do it, right? And then you have these experiences, and I'm not a person that needs to do it multiple times a year. Once a year, and then like a year of integration is honestly fine with me. But it's been so life changing for me. And I was telling a dear friend this just the other day, that we were talking about the nature of reality, and he was like, for me, I can't be too in the ether. I can't think about that if I make one decision, there's seven other realities that might be reflected. And I like love to geek out on this stuff. And he was like, I really can just appreciate the beauty of a butterfly, and like how much mystery is there. And I'm like, yeah, me too, me too. But the big thing was, I've experienced things that are so far out of the scope of like what most people are looking through, that I couldn't stuff myself back into there. It's like a near death experience for me. And I had to come back and question, like I had to, and I have to continue to do that. So my relationship with the plants are really like, they feel like they've called me. I haven't really sought out any of the plants or the plan. It's just been a part of, I think, my awakening. It's been so integral to me that I really feel like it's my duty to talk about it in an open and honest way. I was really afraid. I worked with a lot of people who, worked at some big companies, and they were my clients, and I didn't know if I wanted them to know. But then I just decided that the plants have a message, and if I can be like an actual mouthpiece, then I should do it. So I talk about it a lot. I do.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, what's your actual practice though? I want to know. So I want to know your spiritual practice, and I want to know your plant practice.
they're so intertwined. I wrote down the 7 things I use the most in my house, and one's a tea kettle. I drink a lot of herbs. Sometimes I do microdoses of magic mushrooms, and this is because I've dealt with a lot of anxiety and not even known it. I think that I told my dad this. He's a psychologist. He didn't like it very much, but I was like, I think I might have been on the spectrum and just figured out ways to deal. And maybe all of us are that sensitive. I don't know, but that has really, really helped me come out of my shell and like go into my shell when I need to. And that's something that I've worked with professionals who, you know, helped me with dosage. It's not something that's all the time. I have a legit creative partnership with cannabis. That's like my homie. That's like my lover. That's like my friend. And it's not something I use every day, but it's something that reminds me that it's there for me. Mm-hmm. She'll be like, oh, I'll just be like, oh yeah, there's that thing. I've been so stressed. I'm going to go sit on my porch and, you know, commune with this plant. So plant practices are a big part of my spiritual practice. I have a lot of living wild things around me. That's part of my spiritual practice. I do sit on the mat. I do breath work. I do I do it all. But the thing that's the most consistent with me is just like caring for the plants in my house, and lately breath work and movement. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to know about you and plant medicine.
Well, my relationship with plants is, for me, it's essential oils are the entry point. And I always tell people, like, it's not foofy fluffy. This isn't about just, you know, your diffuser. Like, I really approach these as medicinal, the combinations. I've got a bag of different oils I carry with me everywhere, room to room. Sometimes it's every 15 minutes, a particular oil on the base of my skull. Sometimes, you know, it's like, it's very much a thing. I do a lot of bathing, so a lot of salt baths, like mega amounts of salt, 3 times a week with essential oils, particular combinations, and then, you know, salt showers and salt and oil, big time. For me, ingesting anything to do with cannabis, I don't feel great in the morning. Like, I think I have a concern that how some of this is being produced, like the sacredness is just being stripped out of it.
Yeah.
So if I could find something that just like found it myself in the ground and had it on the right day of the month, and I could just really have impeccable alignment, I'm down with that. Ayahuasca, maybe someday. Mm-hmm. I have concerns about the stuff that jumps on you on that highway and wants to, you know, I think there's a lot of energies that are hovering and want to kind of get in your trunk when you come back into this dimension. And so you just have to be really careful, and it has to be guided. I think it has to be guided by someone from lineage, not like a shaman named Stacy from Venice Beach, you know?
Word.
Although she could be a lineage that just doesn't, you know, and
the plants are there for us, and whatever way. I'm not you know, I think the use of hemp, the use of the whole plant to me is magical. It can be food, it can be paper, and the biggest thing that I want to hit home is that I think plants are liberation. You know, you're using the oils on the regular basis. I use oils too. Salt, oh my gosh, salt. If you're an empath, if you feel a lot of feelings, got to get in the salt bath. So I do that too.
Yeah, salt is the way I look at it is, I think it's the greatest cleanser there is on the planet. And it's really the pulse of the mother is in the salt. It's how, it's like the mother herself is bathing us with that salt.
Yeah.
Let's talk about dating. We're going to get lots of hearts right now. This will be the part of the clips. How do we mate and date and relate in these wild times?
It feels like a big question for me, even though I'm in this. I created a program right now, and there's 20 of us women who are in it And it was inspired by the Rumi quote about not seeking for love, but looking at the barriers that we put in the way and sort of just loving them. And so I think the biggest thing that I've distilled up until this point, yeah, I've gotten tips on like how to go get back out there, and I've done that a little bit, and that's totally weird. And but a shift that I made just 3 or 4 days ago that feels really big, you know, when you like embody something and you're like, oh, there it is in my body. But I I wrote down that I'm going to celebrate love everywhere I find it. And I think before that, I something I said proudly was just like, no, I don't, no one's in the kind of relationship I want to be in. Like I haven't really, you know, I haven't really seen examples of what I want. And I just am glad that that voice has shifted to really celebrating love wherever I see it. And, you know, there's elements of my grandparents' relationship that I think are so sweet and that I love. And, you know, whenever I see people, it's just really turned into loving people more. And I feel like it's opened up some door in my heart that I had closed. So, I mean, that's, that's where I'm at with love, mating, and dating. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that's it. We got a puppy the end of last year, and she didn't last long. She had something. She came and she was sick, so she died when she was 5 months old. But it just like, Misha just like went through the pipes of love in our house. She just like cleaned it out. Because, you know, all that serotonin, all that genuine love, all day, you're just like, woo, 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 you know, and the things we did for just nothing was too much for this dog. And when she passed, I thought, my person's coming next. She like greased the wheel for my person.
That.
And I had made, at the beginning of last year, when we decided it was responsible to shelter in place for a while, I went straight into like my mortality and thought, okay, I got to be willing to die. And I'd be willing to give up the aspiration to like be partnered this lifetime. And then back to death. Maybe it's my son's karma to not have a mother, have to deal with that. And maybe I'm just going to quit this business that we're in. I'm just going to go off. I really just want to shave my head and live in an apartment with parquet floors. And I just like really gave them up to God. And all three of those came back. Like, okay, I want to be here. I've had to like this last year just decide if I want to live.
Yeah.
And I want to live. I want to be here for this. And I want to be part of holding healing for this. And I still wanted my person. And I still want this job. And with my person, I said, all right, God, I hope that the prayer, you know, I really pray to have the right prayers. May this aspiration be aligned with thy will. And if it isn't, we're going to find out. So I was just like, all right, I still have this, so I'm going to hand it over to you. You got to bring him. And this is me being like pretty much 8 years-ish, not in a serious relationship. I'm just like, make him local. Because I always thought my guy was going to be like a baller in LA.
Of course, someplace else.
Or New York. I was going to meet him like at a TED Talk or something, you know. And he had taken all the Tantra classes and everything. And was going to talk to me about being my king and stuff. And I said, look, make my guy local and bring him in the next 2 months. Like bring him in the middle of this so-called upheaval. And bazang. And and the bazang came, and I didn't think it was him. I was like, he can't handle me.
Yeah.
And I let it go. And it was on my Virgo. I was like, hey, I just want to tie up this, you know, I want to tie up this loose end. You're lovely. You're smart. Thanks for all the laughs. You know, maybe I'll see you on the seawall. And he's like, well, this is a drag. And he came back to me a few weeks later. And he's like, come on. I was like, really? It's like, come, get over yourself. Let's go. And I did.
I love that so much. I love that.
But you cannot, like the practical dating stuff is, I hear so many people saying, yeah, but hard now. No. You have to stand in your heart, and your heart blazes the trail to love. It doesn't matter if it's an app, or if there's world health situation, or if it's raining on the weekend, or if you haven't dated in 30 years, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Like, flame of the heart, light
Hmm.
the way,
Hmm.
and go.
Yeah. I like
Yeah.
that moment. I like the moments you had because I think I've deeply been thinking about my own mortality and feel like I've come to grips with another layer of that. And I think that's part of what needs to happen now and what needs to happen in order for you to really stand in the power and blaze your heart and almost like give it up. And then that's when
Yeah.
you get it, that sort of energy. So I think that's really powerful. And I love the Virgo in you. I have a lot of Virgo in me too. And you're like,
Mm.
well, maybe it's not. And he's like, come on back. Yeah, that's really sweet. I like that story. I'm still in it. It still feels like a giant puzzle, but I feel like I'm releasing a lot more of the things that have kept it at bay and that my heart's really open and available for the first time. Like that was always my thing. It was always someone else was unavailable, and I always thought, well, he's going to be somewhere else, and I've had those like he's like so far away, these like, Romeo and Juliet over and over and over again, and I'm over that. I just want someone in my neighborhood too. Like that would
Mhm.
be great. So,
And this was really, are you familiar with Course in Miracles?
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. So, Course talks about almost our addictive search for someone special. But this is where it gets really interesting, is that we want someone special so that we can be special.
Mm-hmm.
She is all that. And therefore, we're all that. We attracted all that. And it's like, if you say you just want someone who's normal
Yeah,
and dependable, then
exactly.
then you're just normal and maybe moderately dependable. And how sexy is that? And it turns out to be like that's the foundation of building something real. Like,
Mm-hmm.
also in this relationship, I decided to not be seductive.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a trip. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'm just going to show up all messy. Of course, I want to be beautiful. I want to be magnetic, all those things. But like, I could really see how my past patterns of coming on so seductively in the beginning to seal the deal
Yeah,
or to test them, it just created havoc down the road. You just had to go back and clean it up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I like that. And I'm all about trying something different. If you've been hitting your head against the wall, it's like, okay, how can I show up differently? What do I normally do in the beginning, and really trying a different approach, doing something else. And, if we're in relationship with ourselves enough, we'll kind of know some of the things that we do in the beginning. And I actually really love picturing you being like super seductive in the beginning, but then, pulling back from that and being like, yes, that's a part of me that's in there, but that's not what I need to do to make this thing stick.
Well, I think like I have my central sexiness, but just let it meet each moment instead
Yeah.
of less strategy,
Uh-huh.
more organic.
Yeah, more being. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You afraid of anything right now?
Yeah. Um, I still think about what it would be like if I don't find someone, or, it's like everyone has, not everyone. I don't have kids, I'm not married, and I'm trying to figure out like what's my legacy? What have I been pouring myself into? And actually I just got done talking to my dear friend Wu Yi, and she um there is a book called Crone by Clarissa Pinkola Estes that she
Mm-hmm.
recommended, and the first tenet was like, you're not ordinary. You're not going to have an ordinary life. If you're looking to like fit the bill, that's not quite going to happen for you. So, and maybe it's not fear, it's more just like a curiosity, like even just like, um, I've realized that there's not a ton to be afraid of in that way, but a lot of the feelings that I have are about more about who I have to be and show up as to receive the thing. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's a little bit of hesitancy there. I don't know where that's coming from. Um, what am I afraid of? What are you afraid of?
Well, I have some social level concerns. So
Mm,
I have concerns with like world upheaval and food shortages and so-called cyber attacks,
yeah.
real social disruption.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to start in a just really elegant way talking to people about, hey, what I'm doing. Like, you should have 2 to 3 months worth of food in your house, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody, you got grass, you should be growing a garden, and you should
Yeah.
know your neighbors,
Mm-hmm.
and you should have a landline because things might get a little funky. And
Exactly.
I have hope that we are going to come together and navigate and reinvent. Um, but there's those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in an elegant way. I like that because it could turn into, did you see the woman who went to go get the gas in a plastic bag and it was coming out of the plastic bag? There can turn into like, just like mayhem around it. But there, to be prepared is wise. To look, to take the temperature of what's happening and to prepare yourself in a way that feels in alignment is smart. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. And wrap it all in hope.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
without that, it's just another dude in his basement. I don't know.
yeah.
Nothing wrong with dudes in their basement, but yeah, just like spewing off all the things that are going wrong without really showing up to assist.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great noticing. Yeah, believe in Allah, but tie up your camel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be afraid of not fulfilling my potential, and now I'm more down with I'm complete.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm a complete whole person. I am I am cognitively aware of being the beloved, that life loves me as is, eternally, always has, always will.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a new layer to the prayer, which is like, help me know how I am loved.
Mm-hmm.
And help me know how I am loved in this moment. And sometimes I feel it enter, and sometimes I need to generate it from within. Just be like so compassionate and just say, of course, Danielle, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I was sitting on my floor just a bit ago and I, for a long time, thought that success was like some future point, like, oh, I'm going to get there at some point. And I've really just been letting myself be successful right now. I'm like looking around and being grateful, really grateful for who I am and what I am, that same sort of present moment. Not putting anything in the future. It's like now. It's about right now and the quality of my being. And if I'm that wholeness that we keep talking about is it's not a whole piece. It's just a bunch of little fragmented pieces that you say, okay, come, you can be here too, and there is a way of being and moving and talking and embodying that. And I think that that's really important to practice and to model. And I feel that whenever I interact with anything that you create. So it's good to know how that works in your life.
Mm-hmm. What about visioning for you? So like I relate to what you're saying about being present. Like I'm moving right now. I'm surrounded by boxes, and I don't want to get in this cycle of like, once I finish the book, once I get the move, once I went, then. Just
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, packing a box and doing this today is what it is.
Yeah.
And then there's vision. So where are you in? I'm going to be present and still. And is vision necessary?
Yeah. Totally, especially for visionary types, all of the archetypal stuff I've done, has pegged my personality quite perfectly. And, if we're all doing our job or the thing that we get to do that we love more than anything, for me, that's visioning. And it can feel heavy. And that's when I know I'm in a weird shape with it or I'm not doing it the right way for myself. And then I have to bring like joy back. Whenever it feels heavy, I'm like, ooh, like, no. Like, this is who you've always been, extremely creative. It feels easy. So in one way, it's just like being sure that I'm embodying it without any weight that feels sticky or anything that belongs to anyone else or any unnecessary thing. And, I think that you can definitely be always striving and that can take away from the present moment. But there's also just like, being who you are. Nature is my favorite example of, like if a peacock tried to be something else, it wouldn't be itself. It's meant to just like put its feathers out and inspire change within people. It's like, I just want to be sure that I'm not this little light of mine, basically, it's like, that's the thing I come home to all the time is like, being who I am.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
No, yeah. How do you feel at the end of the day?
Grateful, excited about what I'm going to dream. I'm a big dreamer, in real life and in the dream time. Um, Lately I've been sleeping on the floor, so this it's a whole new adventure for me, and part of it's just like with the alignment. So every night when I go to bed, I'm like, I don't know, it's just interesting to go lay on the floor. So that's been like a new thing that has made me feel different and weird, and also in alignment. There's a lot of people that sleep on floors, and um, yeah, pretty much just excited about what's going to come in. That's a mystery to me still. We talked about holding the mystery. It's something that sometimes I hold really well. It's sometimes something that I resist and have all of these like clever ways around it, but really I'm just obsessed with everything I don't know and want to know. And yeah, that's how I feel at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
What's your dominant feeling in the day?
Oh, I am so excited to stop my body. I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I'm tired. I'm spent and I'm excited to stop my mind. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
become so much more interested in silence. Like my life, my car, my walk used to be music, music all the time. My life was like a curated playlist.
Yeah.
And in this last year, I've just turned into like one of those people just like silence is really great.
Yeah.
I'm also like super diet from social media. I can jump on Instagram, see who I need to see, and then I gotta get off.
Yeah.
I haven't consumed news intentionally in a long time. I was at someone's house and they just had it on. I'm just like, how can you believe you really think that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just the tone, it's just all fear. It's
It
all fear.
is.
There's lots of shitty things happening. There's lots of great things happening. Yeah. Yeah, and I do. I'm going to start. Now I'm going to have to really do it because now I'm being publicly. Uh, I'm going to start meditating twice a day. I think
Mm,
I need to have a session at night that, like the nighttime prayer with head on pillow, is sweet, but I need another. I got to take out the garbage,
yeah.
refresh before sleep. And I'm actually not a dreamer.
Mm,
I have my philosophy on dreams for myself is that um, dreams for me are like take out the garbage. It's just stuff I didn't process. And those are
uh-huh.
like usually kind of wacky, don't make sense at all. And then there's message dreams
Uh-huh.
and they come far and few between. I really pay attention to them. Mostly what I wake up in the morning is with a song.
I
The
like that.
most abstract, weird stuff in the 80s, like a flock of seagulls, something. Or like a Bob Dylan song, and I'm not even into Dylan, but it's
Uh-huh.
like, and I'll go look up the lyrics online. I'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
my subconscious is trying to tell me.
I like it. I mean, that's my favorite thing about the morning time is that we're still so porous to those the mysteries that want to come in, and I feel less resistant to them.
Yeah,
And sometimes I'll get a song too. I like that. I like that.
yeah. The magic hour, the ambrosial hours. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What are you making right now as we wind down?
I am. Last summer, I did something that I needed a lot. That's kind of how I roll. Really, it's like what could I use? What am I sensing that the people in my community could use? And last summer, I did a sensuality camp. And on the surface, yes, all of the things that probably first come to your mind, it's about that too. But to me, it's also about creating fertile soil to be embodied in. And how do we do that? We slow down, we appreciate silence. We get in our body, which can be really scary. I'm realizing it's a thing I love up here. I'm all up here.
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of the last couple of years, things have really grounded me. And I want to have roots. That's not a thing that I thought I needed or wanted before. And so I'm really rooting. And, it takes work to tend. And so it's really a summer camp about tending. And yes, there's sensuality, there's sexual practices, but it's really just about creating a fertile life. So Wild Bloom will start again. I really like 90 days working with people. So it's a 90-day program. And I've just been pouring myself into that, thinking about what I'd like to experience, talking to other amazing men and women practitioners. So That's what I've been. I've been in that like treat yourself really well vibe.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah,
Mhm. Mhm. Joy is the compass, I think, now.
yeah.
There's like joy, divine love, compassion, kindness.
Hmm.
The only way we can navigate now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Those are super important. Yeah.
Or we'll get taken out. Yeah. Mm. You're lovely. It'd be so great if we were hanging out in Chattanooga. What would we be doing right now?
You know, I think that I'd probably take you to my favorite outdoor spot. It's a quiet town with a little like we have an interesting beat here. Where else would I take you? I think I would just like make beautiful. I like making spaces beautiful. I really love like fresh fruit, and maybe we'd have some cards, some music, some silent time. I don't know. Maybe I'd try to get you to smoke pot with me, to be honest. I'd be like, listen, I know the woman who grows it will really figure out what works for you, and then we just have like the most amazing conversation, and that's
Okay.
it.
Okay. I'm in. I'm in.
Okay.
If anybody could, you could. Uh, do you have a prayer that you say on a regular basis?
Yeah. It's just a couple words.
Okay,
I'm a
let's give it a container. So on Thursdays we always do a prayer here.
okay.
So Aisha, will you give us the closing prayer?
Sure. And wherever you are, if you want to close your eyes, however you want to receive this, the first prayer that I have when I wake up in the morning is thank you, thank you, thank you. I say it as many times as feels right. And then I just say, show me what you'd have me do today. Show me who you'd have me meet. Bring in synchronicity, bring in love. I'm yours. Yeah, that's the prayer. That's the prayer.
That's the
Yeah,
prayer.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Super
This is
grateful.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
you are a light. I'm
Mm.
so excited to see how you're gonna arc.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
yeah, it's so beautiful.
Thank
Okay,
you.
let's keep talking about the world behind the scenes.
We will. We definitely will.
No.
Bye,
Okay,
everybody.
love.
There's a lot of my good friends on here who
I
just
know.
are lovely.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye.
all love. Bye.